someone who has ADHD is about 10 times more likely to start a business, which is great. Oh, because we're crazy enough to jump in without thinking through it. However, the sad reality is we're 9 times more likely to fail because of lack of consistency.
Welcome to another episode of the Doctors and Dollars podcast. As always, I'm your host, Nate Crannell. I'm joined today by Dr. Lola Day. Dr. Day is a pediatric cardiologist, podcaster, and coach for easily distracted women. That is, overwhelmed mothers and women with ADHD. She's a proud Georgia peach, but currently lives in Orlando, Florida with her husband and 3 children. She's the CEO and founder of Lollie Tasking, a work-life balance strategy and coaching company for high-achieving women who have the will to accomplish their goals, but their brain keeps sabotaging them. I hate when that happens. Dr. Day wears all of these hats, physician, coach, mother, and wife, while managing her own ADHD like a boss. Welcome to the show, Lola.
Thank you so much, Nate. It was so nice to have me here. I'm so excited to be on your program today.
Thank you. What is going well today?
Ooh, I love it. What is going well? It's funny because this month, and I would say since the middle of June, I've been doing a 40 days of gratitude. And today actually ended my 40 days of gratitude. I turned 40 in July. So, of course, I celebrated all of July for my birthday, being who I am.
Have to.
And so each day I've done 40 days of gratitude, and today concludes it. And what is going well is that realization that I am blessed. Like I'm in a place. I was on call last night, like I said, but I'm such in an amazing mood because when it's all said and done, I'm really big on gratitude because a lot of times we tend to focus on the negative. And we'll talk a little bit about ADHD. Negatives are not really good with us. So just being able to realize how really blessed we are. Like I'm not where I want to be, but I definitely was not where I started. So
Awesome. Well, happy belated birthday. Of your 40 days of gratitude, there's a lot of self-reflection there. What was day 40? What was the 40th thing, that those words of affirmation that you gave yourself? What's the gratitude today?
Oh, that's awesome. So my day 40 was actually like accumulation of everything in my life, and it was just thanking God for being me. Which also links into ADHD because each day I thank God for something in my life or something I'm doing, starting with my husband, my kids, my ability to strategize, my ADHD, my business. And today I was like, you know what? I just thank God. Like this last 40 days, I've been able to appreciate a lot of things about me. And I'm like, man, you did a good job on me, God, you know? So that was today.
That's a beautiful way to think about it.
If I must say so too, God, you did a good job.
Yeah. When you first say it, it probably felt like a pat on the back. Like, hey, you did a pretty good job. But really, you're patting God on the back. So
Exactly.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to start out. So you have a great quote on your website from Tom Hartman. It says, "Our brains are wired differently, not less than. We don't think slow, we think fast, but in a different way."
Yeah.
What does that quote mean to you?
So it goes to like when people think about ADHD, first of all, and a lot of people are going to argue with me or say, no, I don't feel that way. But it depends on what stage of your ADHD you're in, right? A lot of times when they first decide, or not decide, when they first get diagnosed with ADHD, a lot of people get a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of grief, right? And I think a lot of that grief comes from, oh my gosh, I'm different. Oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. But I think once you realize who you are and you realize that, there are some great things about this ADHD that I can use to my advantage. I talk about, we're kind of like Superman, right? Like Superman, like when he's on Earth and he's good, like he can do whatever. But if it's near kryptonite, he's useless. That's distraction for us, right? Distraction is our kryptonite. Lack of focus is our kryptonite. So once you realize that there's nothing wrong with you, your brain is just wired differently, then you start to think, okay, if my brain is wired differently, how can I make it work in this environment than I am? And one of the biggest thing when I start teaching people with ADHD is one, understanding what it is and what it's not, because there's been a lot of misconceptions and myth about ADHD out there, and then accepting the totality of who you are. Once you've accepted who you are, then you're not trying to force yourself to be who you're not, but making who you are work in the environment that you want it to work in.
Yeah, I like that. It's okay to be different, but don't
Hmm.
let ADHD be a hindrance. Let it be a tool. Is that what I'm
Exactly.
hearing? That's good.
Exactly.
When is the most common age? If you look at every person that's been diagnosed with ADHD over the whole spectrum, and I know you probably don't know all of them, right? But what is probably the most common age that ADHD tendencies tend to start to get noticed?
Prior to the last 5 years, I would say a lot of people would tell you in the preschool to early school years, like third, fourth grade, when things starts getting a little harder for kids, they'll say that's when you should notice ADHD. And some doctors, as a pediatrician, I'm a pediatric cardiologist, some doctors will even tell you, if you didn't notice it earlier, then they probably don't have it. But what we're actually coming to find out is, yes, maybe in young kids, yes, maybe in those who have hyperactivity, yes. But what happens to people like us who are inattentive? What happens to superly intelligent, smart ladies like myself who've gone through medical school? I got diagnosed in residency, right? Oh, no,
Oh, okay.
last year of medical school was when I got diagnosed. So, like, some of us have come up with strategies to help out with our ADHD and not even realizing that it's ADHD. And it comes to a point when those strategies don't work for us, that's when we get diagnosed. I will say, however, when I talk to women and they're trying to figure out, do I have ADHD or not? When I ask questions, it's always been there. It's not something that shows up all of a sudden.
Mm,
Because one of the biggest questions I actually get asked by a lot of mom is, when is this just overwhelmed mom versus ADHD,
fair.
right?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
a very fair question. It's overwhelmed mom if you've never had these issues. You've never had the stress. You've never had to create these strategies to help you. Maybe what you need is support versus, yeah, it's a little bit more now, but if I really think about it, when I was in elementary school, I used to daydream. When I was yes, I got all A's, which is kind of like the case for me, but I could never get 99 percentile on my exam, which if you think about people like me, you're like, wait, 99 percentile, but I put in the work of 99 percentile and I got 85 percentile. Do you see the
Yeah.
disconnect, right? So,
Right.
like, a lot of highly intelligent women with ADHD will tell you, I just never felt like the work I put in, I saw the results. So because you knew you were going to be distracted on your exam, because you knew you were going to make silly mistakes, people like us overstudied. I remember in medical school, they used to say, oh, you spent 2 years on step one, 2 weeks on step two, and 2 days on number two on step three. That was not the case for me. I was the one who basically started studying on step one as soon as school started because I knew that was how I was. I never saw it as, oh my gosh, it's a bad thing. I've just always known I needed to overstudy to overcompensate. Like, I
Mm,
had that self awareness in myself. And for step two, I studied the whole year for step two to get the grade I wanted. And I remember it was one of my attendants fourth year. She was talking about how great I was in. I loved clinicals. Oh my gosh. She was saying how great I was in clinicals and how I knew all this facts. And she was like, oh, don't mind Lola. She's one of those people that got like 99% in everything. And jokingly, I was like, haha, I wish. And she was like, you did it? Like, just like joking? And I was like, yeah,
sure.
I'm horrible with standardized tests. And she was like, there's no such thing as that. But I think she probably recognized I had ADHD because I think she did as well in retrospect. And she was like, you know what? Do me a favor and just go get tested. And to be honest, I was like, how dare she? I'm good. You know,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
I was never one of those people that, quote unquote, what people thought struggled. But when I when I got diagnosed and I was talking to my psychiatrist, she was like, "Yeah, you didn't struggle, but you also did way more than anybody else did."
Yeah.
Like, so my standard was basically out of whack. Like, it was not typical standard at all. I just knew I wanted to get to A, and I knew I needed all these things to get to A because I had a bigger motivation that was bigger than myself, which I try to help a lot of my ADHD clients with. But I could keep going on and on. I don't know if I even
No,
answered your question or not, but
no, you did a great job. What I'm hearing you say is like a lot of people can kind of self-identify those tendencies. They just don't know that it is ADHD, right? They're just like, I'm different.
exactly,
I'm trying just as hard or harder as other people in my class, but we're getting the same score, or I'm getting a worse score. And so there's like, what
exactly,
you feel the disconnect.
right,
I
right.
have
There's
friends with kids that are in that same space. They're like, there's just something a little off, and we don't know what it is, and like, how do we manage it? It's like it's kind of them managing it themselves, figuring out, okay, how do I compare to everyone else? Which, there's the old saying, never compare yourself to someone, but
Absolutely. And that's
you,
why
you
diagnosis
have
is
to.
very important, right? Like
Mm,
in medicine, you see people like, oh, doc, I need help for this, this, this. And I'm like, I can't treat you until I know the diagnosis, right?
mm,
And I've had some people, especially in some of my community, that are like, I don't want to put a label on my child. I'm like, you could call it whatever you want. You could call it tomato, you could call it funny branch, you could call it, pick a name and call it. The question
sure.
is your child or are you going through this particular symptoms and how can we help with it? I used to be big on we need to call it ADHD, and I realized that even in our medical profession, right? I have a lot of private clients that do not want anybody to know they have ADHD because of the stigma that it comes with. So I've come to the point of I don't care what you call it. Do you have these symptoms? Okay, let's call it tomato. Let's treat the
Yeah,
tomato to get
there
you
you
to where
go.
you need to get to.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I know you work with a lot of women and adults. I do have a kid question for you, though.
Of
Um,
course.
Thinking about, let's say, for example, an 8 year old, um, boy or girl. I know boys tend to show those tendencies and yeah, lose their attention much quicker. But say just an 8 year old child gets diagnosed with ADHD. From a treatment standpoint, is it better to medicate from a younger age and train the brain, or is it better to be a little bit more holistic, kind of come up with some of those processes and ways to handle things, and then medicate later as an adult when you're a little bit more higher functioning?
So that's a very good question, and I say it's an individualized answer.
Okay.
I personally believe in a three-pronged approach. I
Mm,
always say skills, pills, and lifestyle changes. Okay?
okay.
Skills are the strategies you need to put in place. However, there are some kids that they're so far gone. Like if you don't start on the skills way early enough, right? Like let's say you missed it and now it's like ridiculous, grades are bad. You may need to start the pills, right? To get them through that hump. And I do this a lot with my clients that I coach. I recommend go see a psychiatrist, get started on something to at least help you calm your brain, help you get to the level where you can actually learn some of the skills that you need to help thrive, right? And then
Yeah.
lifestyle changes are things like people underestimate the power of sleep, the power of avoiding sugar, the power of making sure your kids actually play and have fun, the power of, what kind of diet is your children having? Do they need omega 3? Like all those things are all they like. If you look at the ADHD community right now, they will tell you the best management of ADHD is skills, pills. Again, skills is coaching and all that. Pills, medication, and lifestyle. That's you have to kind of go through the whole three. The question is how much of each or when you should go
Mm.
into it.
And that's case by
Um,
case.
it's very case by case, and I'll use a personal scenario. I do have a child who has got from my mama, um,
Hmm.
and she's one of the best kids in
Tomato.
her class, right?
Sure.
Exactly.
Hmm.
She has tomatoes. She got her tomatoes from her mom. So,
Yeah.
but because I got diagnosed way early, I noticed this in kindergarten. So I started the skills, I started the strategies, I talked to her teachers, I put things in place, I made learning fun. Because the ADHD brain, the problem is we're depleted of dopamine, right? So we need things that are engaging, we need things that are fun. Homework for us is not stress. It's fun time with mommy, right? We create
Sure.
games around it. Like I put those things in place to make, like, we have structures in place because we need structure. So I've been able to put that in place where she doesn't necessarily need medication, and she actually hasn't started medication yet. But actually, believe it or not, me and my husband are starting to say, is it time? Because now we're noticing it in her standardized test, which is what happened to me. While she's a straight A, all advanced, gifted class, takes pre algebra already in seventh grade, like, we're noticing that when we saw her standardized test scores from last year, she was 87 percentile. And you say, whoa, that's good. But we also know
Yeah.
her potential. So it's a
Yeah.
conversation that we're now having. I don't naturally see pills as a bad thing. There are different types of pills out there. There's stimulants, there are non-stimulants, like there are different ones that can help your child. But like, again, case by case. But I will say one thing that is definitely important. Pills may not be now, but strategy is definitely now, and lifestyle changes is definitely now. And those are things you could put in place. Strategy, maybe through an ADHD coach if you don't know what to do, and lifestyle changes are literally things like how is bedtime, how is the food we're eating, is he having a lot of sugar, how is screen time. People underestimate the effect of screen time on the ADHD brain. Like, all
Mhm.
those things matter.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing the personal story with me
Of
about
course,
your child.
thank you.
That's, I mean, it makes it easier to talk about when you know it's your kid. Um,
Hmm.
but sometimes people get nervous of, hey, I don't want people to know that I have a tomato, but also that my kid has a tomato. And
Right, right, and I
yeah,
didn't ask
it's
her.
genetics. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if your seventh grader is watching our show, I'll be amazed, and she's going to be doing great things in life.
Uh,
Um, so you started Lollie Tasking, which you're the CEO of, back in 2019,
mhm.
while you were a full time attending physician. So you
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, pediatric cardiologist.
Yep.
Was there and now, I mean, when I was coming up with this question, I didn't know your personal story, but was there a certain event or moment that sparked you to create another path in your career that
Mhm.
really is not related to pediatric cardiology
Not
at
at all.
all?
Not at all.
But was there a certain moment in time that said, okay, I'm going to create another path in my career?
Yeah. For a lot of people who listen to me, they know I'm somewhat spiritual. I lean a lot in my spirituality,
Hmm.
and it's funny. A lot of my friends did not know I have ADHD because I am extremely organized. And what they don't realize is that my organization was out of necessity versus,
Sure.
oh, she's just an organized person, right? I know if I'm not organized, like, things just don't go well. So I remember in 2017, 2018, I had friends who would come talk to me. I'm like, oh, can you help me organize my life? Can you help me? And I will, and I love doing it, and I'll do it for them. And in me helping them, like, I'll find out in some of the conversations that they had ADHD.
Mm,
And in me finding out, I kept it to myself. Of course, why would I tell anybody I have ADHD, right?
sure. Yeah.
And I remember when I found out I got diagnosed with ADHD in medical school, I remember crying profusely and saying, God, why me?
Mm,
Right? Because I felt
yeah.
like I just worked too hard for no reason. There's a time when I actually took medication, and I got a 99 percentile on step two when I actually took medication. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never needed to, work as hard as I did all this while. So there was some grief that went through it. And as I was coaching some of this friends turned clients in just organization and planning and strategy, basically a lot of the things I do now, which is why I'm still coaching overwhelmed moms. It was a lot of overwhelmed moms that would come to me back then.
Hmm.
Um, I realized, oh, this is why God gave it to me. Because when I would tell them, oh, you can do it, because they're like, oh, I can't do this, I have ADHD. I'm like, oh, yeah, you can. And I would tell a couple of them, I have ADHD too. They're like, no, you don't. I was like, yes, I do. They're like, but you're a pediatric cardiologist. I'm like, and so what? You know,
Yeah,
like
but have
ADHD.
you seen how organized I am?
Exactly. I'm like, ADHD
Yeah,
has nothing to do with intelligence, you know?
yeah,
And through that, I started talking more to people, and some of them would be like, oh my gosh, it would be great if you talk to my niece or my cousin. You know, so I just started talking to people. And one day I did episode one, coming out of the closets of my ADHD
mhm,
and just letting the world know. It wasn't an easy thing to talk about because I really don't like talking about myself. But as I was talking about it, I was like, oh, wow, this is why God gave this to me. That way I can help other people. Because I've seen people say, like, I can't believe you're a pediatric cardiologist. If you can do it, then I can do it too. So if I can just be that inspiration to letting people know that ADHD does not have to be, you know, the worst. If you learn how to, if you first accept it, be aware of it, and embrace it, if you learn how to work with it, it can be the best thing. And I liken it to swimming because I just learned to swim. I'm still not really good, you know,
that's all right.
about a few years ago. And I
Not ready for the
remember,
Olympics they're on.
no, 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 not at all. I remember my coach at that time telling me, you have to love the water. The more
Hmm,
you fight against water, the more you sink. And that's how I like in ADHD. The more you accept ADHD, the more you say that, okay, this is not a bad thing. I just have to learn to work with it, and learning that, okay, this is a new way of doing things. I just need to switch focus. The easier it is to, like, okay, I can do this, But when we fight against it and we don't want to accept we have it, or we try to be quote unquote neurotypical, that's when we don't do as well. I liken it also to someone who's left-handed, who's in school. Remember in like high school, you had the left-handed chair and the right-handed chair,
for
and there would be
sure.
like two in the entire class. And let's say you had three left-handed people and they try to fight over it. And if they
Yep,
sat on the right-handed, it was a mess, right? Same
yep,
thing with ADHD. A lot of us are left-handed, trying to be in a right-handed world. It just, yeah, you can kind of make it work, but until you accept you're left-handed and actually use a left-handed chair, you're gonna be fighting against the wind.
for sure. Well, what a wonderful thing that you said a little bit ago, which is like you almost found a purpose by helping those overwhelmed ladies with some of their things, them sharing they have ADHD, you sharing it with them, uh, and then turning it into really a purpose, right? I mean, you already
Yeah.
had one purpose being a pediatric cardiologist, which for most physicians are like, yes, this I was put here on this earth to do this to help people.
Yes.
You've got two things. How blessed are you? You got two things that you're creating an amazing impact
Hmm.
for people.
Hmm.
So that's just very cool. You don't meet people like that very often.
Thank you, thank you. And it's so funny because when people find out I coach, they're like, "Oh, so are you gonna quit medicine?" I'm like, "No, I actually love my job. I'm one of those weird people that actually love. I love my patients. I love my job. We like go part time, sure, at some point, but it gives. I have a passion for pediatric cardiologists. I'm not gonna quit anytime soon. But like you said, I actually distinguish passion and purpose. Like my passion in work is being a pediatric cardiologist, and I love it. It fulfills me. Again, with ADHD, if we don't love things, we don't do well in it. So we
Hmm.
kind of have to love it, you know?
True.
But my purpose, I really do see a purpose. And that's why I'm able to like finish work all day and want to talk about it, It excites me when I talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, you can see your face light up as this entire time, and maybe I'm just really good at talking to you. So,
Hey,
but
I
yeah,
saw you.
yeah, you're certainly lighting up. But I want to get into the weeds a little bit with Lollie
Sure.
Tasking. So as you're helping the overwhelmed women that come and work with you, one of the things that you, I don't want to say preach, but preach is a great word. It's kind of the cornerstone of what it is that you do. You say that ADHD can be managed well with a power of systems.
Yes.
We talked about some of them earlier, right? With skills, pills, lifestyle changes. But
Right.
share with me a few of the systems that you're helping your clients with. That someone who's struggling with ADHD to
Hmm.
someone who is then thriving on it.
That is a fantastic question. One of the things I love about my coaching is I try to make it very individualized, right?
Mm,
And every ADHD is not alike. There are some people there are amazing at work and they have no issue at work. There's some people it's at home. There's some people it's just daily living. But when we talk about systems, I kind of try to separate systems and goals, right? So you have your
mm,
big goals, and systems are the things, the minute things you do to help you achieve those things. We all know ADHD thrives on strategy. Okay, so that's one thing. You need a strategy. You all know you need the right environment to thrive on ADHD. So you get environment. We all know you need support. You get support. So bringing all those together, you now talk to yourself and say, what operating systems do I need to put in place? You know, I use this also for women who don't have ADHD, believe it or not. So, for
they're just
example,
overwhelmed. Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's give an example of I actually have a program coming out called Create Systems to Thrive coming out in August. And we're focusing more on children and family life and how do we get systems in place for that. So a system in place could be like, okay, so back to school. How are we gonna get um back to school, right?
Mm,
Just like any business, if you're in any business, let's say you have a virtual assistant as well, you tell them this is what I want you to do, but you want it to be so regimental that even if that VA leaves, someone else can come take over, right?
yep.
That's how system works. Our ADHD brain is constantly thinking, so you want things to be regimented. That way, you don't have to think about it after a while. It
Okay.
just goes. So
Hmm.
in creating system is, let's say, let's make it very simple. Let's say you have a system for your child. Let's use your child for example.
Hmm.
Most kids go to school, they have homework. Do you just say, come when you get home, make sure you do your homework? No, that's
Yes.
not good enough, right? Right? Okay, that's what we
That's what I
should
do.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we should do. But a better system is a operating procedure, like I would say, for the kid is when you get back from school, the first step is what? And you have them read it back to you. I drop my bag at the hang space or wherever you put bags in. When you're done, I go take out my clothes. If you shower after school, I go shower. I bring out my homework. I put this, and actually, it sometimes when I'm going through this with my client, you're like, "Are we really gonna write it?" I'm like, "Yeah, we are," because in us writing everything down, I then see 90% of the time women do way too much than they need to. Then we start talking about what do we delegate.
Mm,
If you don't have that system in place, then you will get overwhelmed again. So my goal is to help you create something where when it gets to this certain threshold, we're delegating this, you know. So that's what systems is about. It's also, if you think about like in medicine, why do we have protocol? I use protocol as well. Why do we have protocol? So we don't make mistakes.
yep. Nothing
So
gets missed. Yep.
exactly. Nothing gets missed. Nothing gets overwhelming. Like if another nurse comes in, they know exactly what to do in that situation. So a system for my kids is like they come out from school. So for kids, you really want to start with a chart, right? And they check each one as they're doing it. And at the end, you may have a little reward to it because we love rewards. Our brain loves rewards, right? So for my kids right now is they come back from school, they drop off their bag, they put their lunch boxes where it needs to be. They sit down, they do their homework, they set their timer. Right, timers are important
Mm,
for us. They set their timer, they finish their homework. When they're done, they have daddy check it or the babysitter check it. They put it up. They have playtime. We don't watch TV during the week. They
mm,
have playtime if there's time left over. And then after that, we get ready for dinner. We eat. After dinner, we clean the house together, mommy and me time. After that, we pray, we go to sleep, right? That sounds so easy. Like, well, we do that all the time, but put it in a systematic place, right? If you have
mm,
that in system, that you say, okay, we're supposed to do homework. Maybe homework is supposed to take 30 minutes. Now it's taking an hour. What do we need to do in this place, right? because now you've written it out. Now you're looking at it. Now you're catching that overwhelm before it's too much. Or, oh my goodness, I'm having to rush to do dinner. What are some things we can put in place? So now let's create systems for making dinner, right? So let's do this. Like, it's very important to go through that. And again, it sounds very easy, but a lot of times I'm having back and forth conversation with the clients, because a lot of times we think we could just do way more than 24 hours allows us. And I actually tell my clients, you don't have 24 hours in a day. You have 16 hours because you need to sleep.
Yeah.
So what are you doing in that 16 hours to help you be productive? Um, and if you don't write it out and create that protocol or that system, you're going to waste a lot of time
Yeah.
and you're going to be overwhelmed eventually.
For sure. I mean, I'm definitely one of those guys that if it doesn't go on my Google Calendar that I look at 30 times a day, like if it's not on there, it's not getting done. And
Exactly.
I'm very strict about like, okay, it's 1 to 1:30. Here's what my calendar says I'm doing. I'm doing it, and then as soon as it's 1:30, what's the next thing we're doing? So I can totally
Exactly.
relate to that. I mean, even with so as part of Grand Vision, one of the things we have a real estate fund where we buy multifamily real estate across the Midwest. As we're doing a rehab right now, we're in about $1 million rehab on one of our properties.
Nice.
All of our workers that are doing the rehab, we have a checklist form that goes on the back of the door of each unit, and it's like 15 things. As soon as you get it done, you got to check or initial your name and write the date that you got done, and then we have a
Hmm.
supervisor or somebody that comes in just to check. Because if you don't have that protocol, you get very used to just kind of looking around and saying, okay, yeah, this apartment unit looks done. Let's move on to the next one, and you might have missed four
Right.
things,
And things
right?
get missed. And that's where anxiety pops in, right? You're like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, I forgot this. And now you're overwhelmed. And now, so
Hmm.
protocolizing it, strategizing it, like you could name it whatever it is. But I think for women, a lot of time we tend to do way too much. And I
Hmm.
encourage us to be more project managers of our lives or CEOs of our lives. Some women come to me for like, I have businesses. How can I get myself together? Right. So that's a
Hmm.
different protocol. That's a different strategy. And we people who have ADHD who have businesses, believe it or not, someone who has ADHD is about 10 times more likely to start a business, which is
Hmm.
great. Oh, because we're crazy enough to jump in without thinking through it.
Sure.
However, the sad reality is we're 9 times more likely to fail because of lack of
Oh.
consistency, because
Mm.
of lack of structure, because of, like we have such amazing, great, grand ideas. Like we're strategy queens. Um, and I say we're chief visionary officers. But here's the thing, most of us also want to execute. That's not our strength point. Our
Yep.
strong point is being the visionary, right? I have, again, among many things, I have a virtual assistant company for that reason, right? Where I help business, because again, when I started helping people, I realized that you really need a virtual assistant to help you. Um, and trying to tell them you don't have to do everything. Your goal is to be the visionary of your company. You just talked about your real estate firm and things you guys are doing. You're not the one doing everything, right? You have
Right.
people doing this and this and this. Unfortunately, with people with ADHD, we just take too much on, and then it becomes overwhelming because then we're doing too much. We have something called time blindness, and what that means is we overestimate how much time things take us to do. So,
Overestimate.
like, overestimate how much
Okay.
time, or I guess it's underestimate how
Yeah.
much time it would take us to do. So let's say, I'll take this. People come in. Okay, I was like, yes, of course I could do it. Yes, of course I could do it. And by the time I know it, I'm like, wait, I only have 2 hours. There's no way I can
Hmm.
get this done. So that's another reason why putting those protocols and strategies and systems in place is very important.
I am super excited to introduce to you the Doctors and Dollars 5-Day Financial Challenge. I'm Mike Neubauer, I'm CEO of Grand Vision Companies, and I'm the one that you see on the Wealth Wednesday and Daily Dollar episodes with Nate. So Nate and I are partnering again to do something even more exciting, which is the 5-Day Challenge. We're taking the best of all of our episodes, all of our expertise and knowledge, and we're condensing it into an impactful and purposeful 5-day presentation, 1 hour per day, for 5 days, to give you everything you need to build that foundation for your financial future. So if you're looking to gain the pieces, you want those puzzle pieces and find out how they fit in your financial plan, head over to the Doctors and Dollars website, join us on the 5-day challenge. We're putting it together for free, so you got nothing to lose. We look forward to seeing you on the inside.
What I'm hearing from you, though, is when it comes to an ADHD business owner, let's use the analogy, got the Olympics going on. Let's use the analogy of track and field. What I'm hearing is an ADHD business owner can visualize the race, can get into the starter blocks, the
Yep.
gun fires, and they go, but they only go about 10 meters. And then it's
Yep.
like, what do I do now? I can't quite get to the finish line. Let's move on. Versus
Right.
delegating, versus building protocols, versus getting a virtual assistant, having someone that helps you
Or
down the race across the finish line.
Or what they do is, as the gun goes up, they get excited. They run 10 feet. They see Snoop Dogg. They stop and say hi to Snoop Dogg. Like,
I mean,
you
that
know.
would be me.
Exactly. Versus, let's focus, let's get to it. And I think part of it again is accepting who you are, right? I have
Yeah.
accepted that I cannot keep up with my calendar. So I have an assistant that helps me with my calendar. I have an assistant that's like, Dr. Lola, we have a meeting with Nate today. Don't forget. Da, 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 da. It doesn't mean I don't have a planner, which I also do, right? It doesn't mean I don't look at it. I have both a physical reminder and a personal assistant who helps me with these things, not because I want to waste money, but because it's necessary for me to be able to do everything I need to do. And I've accepted that I love strategizing. What I love about coaching is talking to people and getting them through it, right? What I
Mm-hmm.
don't love about coaching is sending them summaries and texting reminders, which are all necessary little things that need to keep your business going. I'm working on my next podcast, Love Boredom, which is
Mm.
counterintuitive to ADHD. You have to love boredom to be able to grow in business, right? Because those consistent things are what keeps the business going. However, your fun, visionary, big, grand ideas is what makes your business unique and people fall in love with it as far as like ADHD is concerned. So just understanding that, okay, I'm a visionary person. I'm not going to minutia. I'm not going to remember. Just accept it. Let me get someone to help me. Always works. I have another business called The Promise of Africa. That one is more of a travel thing I love to do. I love to travel, so why not, right?
Oh, of course.
I
Of
have a
course.
business partner where the things I'm good at, she lets me do it. The things she's good at, I let her do it. So I always recommend either you have a business partner who understands your brain, or you get an assistant that can help you with the execution of the important things that needs to get your business going.
Man, I can relate to that so much. You did say earlier, and I'll correct you on it. You said I don't like to waste money when you're talking about your personal assistant and a business assistant. To me, that's not a waste of money. That's effective cost management of you understanding what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and then hiring someone to help you with your weaknesses. So I think I do not think that's a waste at all. And
Oh
where
no,
my brain went there
absolutely.
was like, you're already coaching overwhelming mothers and people in business that need to get on the same track and build the protocols and systems that you have. uh, but then you mentioned earlier in the show, I think I caught it, you said you also have a virtual assistant business. I
Yes,
gotta
I do.
imagine that business came out of just the understanding that you needed a virtual assistant, someone to help you out, and you're like, there's got to be other people out there that need what I need.
Right, right. Again, a lot of the businesses I've done, again, women who go into business who have ADHD, we don't do anything that we're not passionate about. And I talk to parents about this, especially parents who have kids who they want to do a certain thing and the kid doesn't want to do it when they have ADHD. With
Mhm.
ADHD, kids need to love what they want to do. I give examples of people like Simone Biles. She has ADHD. Michael
Mm.
Phelps, he has ADHD. And the reason why they are the GOAT is one of the strengths of ADHD is we tend to hyper focus on what we love.
Mm.
We go way above and beyond, and we end up being amazing at it. Russell Bernstein has ADHD, the owner of Virgin Atlantic. He decided to have a plane because someone kicked him out of a plane, and through that he was like, "I'm gonna show you." We either are going to show you, or we have great passion in it. So me starting a virtual assistant company actually came from me. I preach getting a virtual assistant all the time, and people will always ask me, "How did you get yours?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would help them find one because I want them to succeed. And then the last time, a lot of my virtual assistant company is called AfriVA Hub. And the last time I went to Nigeria, for those who don't know, I'm Nigerian American. I found out that there were so many talented people in Nigeria, extremely talented. If I may say so
Mm-hmm.
myself, we tend to be really talented in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So I found out that a lot of them are people who had bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and just they did not have a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I have so many friends in the US that are looking for virtual assistant. If it's a win-win situation. Again, a lot of things I do is impact and purpose, right? So it fills me. So it never really feels like work to me. So that's how the company started. And I would get a couple of people for people, like people I know, people vetted. I'll match them on with people I know. And it was always, I'm also a good matchmaker. That's another side gig.
What don't you do, Lola? My goodness, you have a construction
Exactly.
company?
You know, actually, that's my next step.
Nice.
My dad's an architect, so like he's been trying to get us to do a construction, and I'm like, Daddy, I have too many things going on. I'm not
There
passionate
you go.
about that yet. Um, but yeah, so that's how the passion came about it. Um, we have the head offices in here in the US, but I have managers in Nigeria, and in having a VA for the past 5 years, I realized what you need, especially if you're going to hire an international VA. I realized a lot of the biggest problem I have, especially people like us who have ADHD, is I don't have time to manage you.
Yep.
I myself need a manager, you know. So I in our VA company, not only do you have a VA, we have a manager that comes with the VA that manages the VA that makes sure like they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're under that helps them understand because one of the biggest things again a new VA is that unloading them, onboarding them, onboarding them on. So like another thing is also the overwhelm of who do I hire. So the first step usually is like, well, are people on ground? Go and search, like, let's say you're a real estate company and you need a VA. We will go find real estate agents who want to do virtual assistants, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
again, there are a lot of people who don't have jobs, so they understand some of the lingo. It may not be exactly the same, right? They may spell color and color a little different, right?
Yeah.
But they understand the lingo. You guys understand each other. And then we spend a week vetting them. Actually, we spend money vetting them, going to their schools, doing a criminal background check, all that stuff, and we vet just two. And then again, overwhelm. We're not going to give you 20 to interview. We're going to give you two of the best candidates. And then you get to interview them. And part of the interview process is giving them a project to do to see how they work. And then
Absolutely.
they pick them. This is how I picked all my VAs and it worked for me. So that's kind of like the step I've done. And now like it's actually going well. And then I have people text and say, thank you so much. Not only have you helped me get a job, it's I'm helping families, and at the same time, I'm getting cost-effective assistance for people who are business owners here to help them as well. So it's a win-win situation. Again, this is another
Yeah.
one where I'm the chief visionary officer, and I have people who do the job. I'm a master delegator.
Yeah. 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 I have 5%, which is all the visionary. The other 95, I'm going to delegate that out, and I know that you guys are going to
Exactly,
crush it. So
exactly,
what
exactly.
an impact though. Like that again, that's the third. I mean, you said that cardiology was your passion.
Mhm.
Uh, the ADHD coaching is your purpose, but now you have a third thing like that. That is
Yeah.
such an impactful thing, not only for the business owner in the United States, but also for the VA and their family, and even the manager
Exactly.
that's managing the VA. Like, you're just
Exactly.
creating opportunity for all these people. It's and you mentioned it
Absolutely.
earlier. You found that everyone in Nigeria, works hard, is very smart. I'll
Hmm.
agree. I have a few companies. The real estate company. We have a family office where we help do wealth and generational planning for physicians.
Oh,
And then on the
nice.
side, I also started golfdrip.com. So it's a golf apparel company. Um,
See,
I
you're
just
like
love
me.
polos.
You're like
A little
me.
bit, yeah. I mean, we're about 45 minutes into this conversation. I'm wondering, man, have I had ADHD for the last 37 years?
Yeah,
Um, but
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I had a dream one time. I said, hey, I want to start a golf apparel company. In the
Hmm.
dream, this kid came up to me and said, "Oh, you sell golf drip," and I didn't know what that meant, and I looked it up, and apparently, the
Wow.
cool young kids call someone who has a lot really good style. They say you have really good drip. So I
Right,
was like, all
right,
right,
right.
so
Look
went
at
with golf
you.
drip. But then it's like from there, I'm like, I don't know like, how do I build a website? And I found a young woman that's in Nigeria. She built me a wonderful website.
So
And it was
talented. So
so talented,
talented.
so smart, the
Hmm.
communication back and forth was so easy. She's like, I know exactly what you're shooting for. Here's like two ideas of what I have for your website. Which one do you like? I mean, it was fantastic. So I will
So you
never,
get it.
yeah, I will never discount the need for someone like a virtual assistant, or even,
Hmm.
I found this young woman on Upwork. Um,
Hmm.
but those types of careers and those types of people are out there all around the world, that can help
Absolutely.
you grow your business. And if you're someone like you and I who has multiple businesses and LLCs, and we don't like to
It
sit
is
still,
necessary.
we
It
need
is
those people. It's
necessary.
fantastic.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that is awesome. One thing I noticed on your website earlier is I was doing some research on you. You lead something called the Wealthy Life Women's Community.
Mhm.
What does a wealthy life mean to you?
Oh, so I always say, so when people think about wealth, they think about money,
Sure,
right? And
sure.
I see money as riches.
Hmm.
Wealth for me is the all encompassing, like how is your health? How is your relationship with your kids? How is your relationship with your partner? How is your work life? That's what wealth is to me. And what I realize is with a lot of women, like we focus a lot of times on our kids a lot and we
Hmm.
forget about ourselves. So one of the things I start to help them is one, loving themselves first. Because once you love yourself, then it's easier to pour into your kids. It's easier to pour into your partner. It's easier to pour even into your work. But as
Hmm.
women, like we're just because of that nurture in us, we just forget about ourselves a lot of times. So wealth for me is just being holistic on who I am, being happy. We have different things we do. We do monthly, like a monthly masterclass or something, and each month we have something we focus on. This month, like I said, is back to school, so we're focusing on creating systems and strategies to help us thrive better the school year, which would help us. On February, for example, we did one on relationships, like how is date night? Are you intentional about date night, right? Like,
Hmm.
how are you incorporating that? What systems do you have in place for date night? Because one thing we realized is like, oh yeah, we're gonna do. I mean, maybe not everybody was like me, but there was a time I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna have date night once a month, and then 7 months goes by, we've not had date nights because we've been so
Guilty,
busy.
guilty. Yep,
Am I calling you out?
yep, yep.
And 7 months goes and you haven't had date night. And like for me and my husband, some of the strategies we put in place is like, let's not make a big deal out of it. We pick each month and we pick, the third Friday or the third Saturday of every month. You know, you pick this month, you pick that month. That way it's not on one person all the time. And then we're doing something fun. Like last night was supposed to be our date night for this month, but it ended up not happening. We're supposed to go see Missy Elliott in concert. That's something we
Hey,
enjoyed growing up. This is like college. But
hey.
we're gonna do something else because I don't know if you're into soccer. Manchester City and Barcelona came to Orlando, and my boys are big soccer fans. So he was like, "Babe, I was like,
I
okay,
gotta
that's
go.
fine. But yeah, and the kids enjoyed it. Like, when next are they going to see Manchester City and Barcelona play? And they saw some of their favorite players yesterday. But again, it's when you put strategies in place doesn't necessarily mean you stick to it, but because you've put it in place, you have a less chance of it not happening, right? So I
Hmm.
still went to miss a concert and I went with my friend, but
There you
now he
go.
gets to plan 2 dates next month, so and we make it fun. We do something fun. You just make it easy. Don't make it like one thing I never liked about it. Everybody's different. You got to know your husband. You got to know your wife. I never enjoyed just going to dinner and talking. We talk all the time.
Sure.
So for me, I wanted to go bowling. I wanted to go skating. Let's do something different. So that works for me. Doesn't mean it works for everybody. But the whole
For
point
sure.
of what I'm trying to say, because again, ADHD is making me digress, is that in wealthy life community, we focus on one aspect of our life and we work through it and we get better with it. And I could talk so many about different things. Another thing about it also is I have so many courses that I've done in the past that I just throw it in the portal. So there are times that they're like, oh my gosh, I need help with, I say, meal planning. Go in the portal, it's there. Oh my gosh, I need help with getting my finances together. Like, how do I get my finances together? I've had people like, I don't even know, Dr. Latifat come talk to us about, how to like help your finance, wealthy stuff. I've had people come talk to us about organization besides me. I've had people come talk to us about how do you talk to your boss about needing time off? Like just different
Mhm.
things that I feel like pertains particularly to women. The men are a
Yep.
little
And then
jealous, but it's
the
okay.
community then there's a sense of accountability then and
Yes,
follow through that comes with
exactly,
being a part of that.
exactly,
But then also there's I gotta imagine there's kind of celebrating those wins, right? There's
exactly.
hey, you said in February you're gonna go on a date night with your husband. How was your date night? Oh, you did
How's
it.
it going?
Congratulations. Now with your
Right.
husband, I want you to go to him and say, hey, Missy Elliott once said, put that thing down, flip it, and reverse it. And so now
Okay.
you have to do two of them, right? So you gotta
Exactly.
yeah, you got
Oh,
two date nights to plan now,
he
sir.
was so jealous because we had amazing sits. I took a friend, and Missy Ella actually came and said hi to me, so he
Oh my
missed out.
goodness, you are living my wife's dream. Again, we're about the same age. Missy
Yeah.
Elliott was, she was it in high
You know
school and
how it
college.
is.
So
So, anyways,
absolutely,
Missy, Timberland, and Busta Rhymes.
get out of here. See, Buster Rhymes is he's up there for me. So
Uh-huh. You should look. They may be coming to a city near you. Like it was
yeah, they're
definitely
coming
like
probably
nostalgia.
Chicago. Yeah,
Yeah.
Chicago or Kansas City would be closest to me. They'll probably come, but man, you get
Yeah.
Buster Rhymes.
Mhm.
Now I'm digressing. His verse on "Look at Me Now" with Chris Brown is the
Mhm.
best verse I've ever heard in my life. But
Yep.
okay, I'm digressing. Apologies.
Are you sure you don't have ADHD?
I don't. Now I'm questioning it. I always kind of again, you just kind of see someone's like, oh, they have ADHD. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Based on their
Yeah.
tendencies and things
Uh-huh.
that they have going. Yeah, that totally makes sense. But it's like, man, I never. I guess I haven't done any what would you
A
call it,
lot
self
of
reflection to be
high
like,
yeah, a lot of high achieving people tend to be missed. Big time.
yeah, maybe it's time to time to go talk to someone. I guess.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anywho.
Speaking of talking to someone, you have the Daily Jumpstart podcast. I think
Mhm.
this idea is a fantastic thing. I'm usually the guy that goes to Instagram Reels, and as you scroll, there's always like a motivational, 30-second reel of somebody getting you all hyped up. But you
Yeah.
have a 5 minute every
Uh-huh.
morning, 5 minutes to help your
Uh-huh.
listeners start their day in the right mindset, called the
Yep.
Daily Jumpstart podcast. I love this idea.
Uh,
Was there something or someone in your life that like encouraged you to share this podcast with the world?
So it started as exactly what you said. Like I needed a motivation to help jumpstart my day. And I realized that I will go on YouTube and then I do. you
Yep.
know? So I needed something that was quick that would help me. And this actually started as part of what the women in wealthy life gets. They get the daily
Hmm.
jumpstart. It's part of the package. But most recently, we've been talking about separating it because a lot of people are saying, I really don't want to be part of the group. I really love the daily jumpstart.
Yeah.
So we were thinking about it. So I think it's actually good you brought it up. Um, So it's a 5 minutes thing because I really do believe the way you start something is the way you end it.
Hmm.
And the day can go all sorts of way, but if you have that person who's like, you got it, and every day is a little different. Today it could be, I give a little anecdote or something that happens, and then I talk about the positives and how we can make it into the day and make it better. Just a little motivation. And I usually make it anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. So 5 minutes is the max. And you get it automatically on your iPod every day. So you don't have to like go log into anything. It pops on at exactly 6 a.m. Eastern time. It used to be 4 a.m. We may switch it back to 4 because now we have more um, what's it called? More East Coast people. There was a time we had a lot
Sure.
of Pacific people, so we did 6. Um, but it's like, so I record a few at a time, and then it just kind of goes automatically.
Hmm.
It helps. I listen to it myself too, and I'm like, oh, did I record that? Okay,
Oh,
I
look
needed
at
this
me.
today. I needed this today. So I think it's always important to start your day on the right foot, whatever that is, for you. For me, I need to read my Bible. I need to listen to some kind of motivation. And again, a lot of things I do is built out of need.
Hmm.
And it's been great. There are some people in our coaching program that they've never been to one of our master classes, and they're like, oh my gosh, I listen to you every day, and you cannot, like, you talked about, like, I think one time I talked about, staying positive, like seeing the good in everything. And they were like, that day was one of the worst days. And I kept thinking to see the good in today, see the good. Like, I could hear your voice. So it made me, so I'd hear stuff like that. I'm like, okay, and 5 minutes is not too long to record stuff. So when I do it again, I have systems in place. I may record like 10 at once and then just plan it out and stuff. So it works out very well. I enjoy doing
Absolutely.
it.
That's very cool, and it's got to be that's got to be another thing. Again, that's super impactful for people. You
Hmm.
never know what day you're going to catch someone when they needed your words, right? And so,
Exactly.
I think it's very cool. I mean,
Exactly.
my wife and I work out together every day in the morning. That's like one of the first things we do. We get our workout in,
Nice.
and then my business partner Mike Neubauer and I, aside from Doctors and Dollars that I do with physicians, we also have Wealth Wednesday, which
Oh,
we just pick one wealth topic that is really important to physicians, and we sit there and talk about it for 45 minutes to an hour. But recently, and again, this was my business partner Mike's idea, that he was like, you know what, I just feel like I feel really energized and like ready to tackle the day after we record a Wealth Wednesday. Like if we could do that every day, that would be awesome.
that's
So just recently,
fantastic.
we started what's called the Daily Dollar. So it's still kind of a series
Ah,
under the Doctor Dollar,
yes.
but we get on together. They're usually 15, 20 minutes. We look at one of the
Hmm.
top headlines of the day that is finance or economic related, and
I
we just
need
sit
to
there and
I
talk about
need
it.
to log in. I need to subscribe to that. I need that.
There you go. Go follow
I
us
need
on
that.
YouTube.
The
It's
daily
Doctors and
it's on
Dollars. Yep.
YouTube. Okay, I'll
Yep.
I'll look into
Yep.
it. The Daily
So
Dollar.
Doctors and Dollars, this is kind of the head honcho, right, of our
Yes,
series, and then
yes.
Wealth Wednesday is more focused on just physicians,
Hmm.
and then Daily Dollar really is for physicians as well, but it's more, you read a headline and you're like, ooh, that's scary, but it's like we read the headline and kind of break it down to help people understand like this is really what's going on, and here's
Right,
how to think about it from different angles. But like
right.
again, 15, 20 minutes just us talking. We do it every morning at 9 a.m., and it's like by 9:30 you're like, man, I'm ready to go.
You're
Like it was,
energized, and
you're
that's
so energized
exactly
because
what
it
the
gets you going.
daily jumpstart does. It literally
I love
jumpstarts
that.
your day. Yeah, so yeah, I need to. It's funny, like me and my sister and my manager, we've been talking about should we pull it out because a lot of people are like we want it. I was like, oh, you kind of have to be as part of the perk of being in the program, but now I'm
Yeah.
like, now you're making me think. Maybe I should pull it out.
I mean, my question to you, it said, "What made you share this podcast with the world?" I didn't realize it was
No,
exclusive, but
it's
I'm thinking
exclusive.
you take it worldwide. Yeah, little pitbull, Mr.
Okay,
Worldwide. So, all
all
right,
right, we may go worldwide.
there you go. My last question that I ask everyone: what does life look like over the next 5 years for Dr. Lola Day?
It's so funny you asked this question because me and my husband were just talking about it because my oldest is going to seventh grade. And we're like, crap, in 5 years you'll be out the house. So in so I was talking about how the first 40 years of my life has been, trying to survive, trying to get to myself, trying to know myself. The next 5 years is literally truly thriving and just enjoying and being present. And we've set so many things in motion and businesses. You talk about I've done so many things. I'm literally at my cap. like I've, I literally told myself like, okay, we can't do any more businesses. We just got to focus on this. Um, we'll see if I keep my promise to myself, but um, the next 5 years, it was really truly enjoying my kids as they're growing older now, taking more time off, maybe going part time. Like we're literally thinking, okay, let's enjoy some time, because I think some of the I don't know if I'll call it lies, but some of the old ways is this idea of, oh, you're retired at 65. Are we really promised 65? So my next
Oh,
5 years is about enjoyment, enjoying the life I have.
there you go. You and your husband might have to come talk to Mike and I with the family office, because that's exactly what we help physicians do, is figuring how to get back their time. A lot of the physicians in our family office are around our age, maybe a little bit older, and
Okay.
they're just there to they're there to take back their time and figure out the things that are important to them, and then going after those. So maybe for you, it's not starting more businesses, that create more wealth so that you can retire earlier.
Right,
Maybe for you,
right,
it's finding delegation, more delegation in what you have, and then helping to
right.
streamline some of those processes so that you can go off and do more vacations and do more fun things with your kids while everything's running in the background behind you. Well, it has been a pleasure, Dr. Day. I am so glad we got together. Uh,
Thank you,
the
Nate.
The Georgia peach shine through, so I'm glad we got
You
together.
could tell. You could take me
Absolutely,
out of Georgia, but can never take the Georgia out of me.
absolutely. So I absolutely look forward to when our paths cross again in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was so amazing talking to you today.
Take care.